Audio check, 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. Cool. Guten D. Hey, buddy. I'm just chill out for a little bit. Okay. Hello and welcome to the space between ideas. I'm Blank Gates. Welcome to the first exciting edition of this experience. Well, or maybe it's not this. Okay, there we go. Hello and welcome to the space between ideas. I'm Blank Gates. This is my first day at work. Wonderful, wonderful thing. What do I mean when I say it's my first day at work? Let me show you what I mean. And if you've been paying attention to my channel for the last forever, then you'll know that I have some methodologies for everything. So let's check out methodologies. This is my award-winning course. This is my award-winning blank screen. And this is my award-winning course. All right. So now, why do I say that it's my first day of work? It's because I use this methodology. Now, I had a really interesting conversation this morning, and we're going to continue the conversation tomorrow. So I have a student, he is from Russia, and he's an older gentleman with a lot of world experience. And he is actually a former parliamentarian of the Russian parliament. So it's really interesting. He grew up in the Soviet Union. He has a deep understanding of the Soviet Union practices, particularly the ideas of Karl Marx. And today we started this conversation about capital, labor, and productivity. And the question came up about like, where does profit come from? And he started quoting the ideas of Karl Marx and saying that the owner, for example, let's say that we have a orchard and the owner of the orchard is going to exploit the laborers. And I was just like, okay, first of all, we got this word exploit, which is a crazy word. And second of all, what do you mean exploit? Like, um, I couldn't even understand. And he started saying that's why the ownership of the factory should go to the nation, the country. It should be go for the ownership of the asset should go to all people in the country equally. And I was like, oh my goodness. So Karl Marx was able to steal everybody's property? Like, is that what the idea is? Because like, see, the issue, it's not about okay, so we if we go back to the American system, they talk about this thing called life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The question is, what do you mean pursuit of happiness? And some people say the pursuit of happiness, it means property ownership. All right. So now, what is life? What is liberty? What is the freedom of happiness? So I think that life, it means that we own our like the living being. So I live, like I'm alive. Nobody has the right to steal away the candle of life. Liberty, it means that we own the country and the country's assets collectively, but not in the terms of the communist way. It means that I mean, fine, okay, so it it means that we all have some say in the way that we create the laws, and that we need to set up the laws so that the laws are helping us to organize our social relationships. And then the third pillar is the pursuit of happiness, meaning property ownership. It means that we have to be able to say that not just my own personal body, but I actually have a piece of property that I can also call my own. So it means that everyone has this sovereign right to their own life and their own territory, some piece of territory. And that territory is a representation of work, of something that they were able to create, and then or they were able to receive it from somebody else. So if somebody else passes on that ownership. And so I guess that the Marx idea is that no, in fact, you're not supposed to be able to pass on ownership, that the ownership goes to the state. And it's like, okay, so that means that I don't have the right of private property. Mm. And I think when I hear things like when people talk about the rentier class, the renting class, so they're just charging a rent, but they're not actually producing any value to society. And it's like, hmm, okay, okay. Now, but like, what about the stock market? So what if I purchase some degree, some amount of ownership of somebody's company? So I'm investing. So I'm putting money into some kind of productive endeavor because I want to give them some of my assets, and then in order for them, because they're promising that with my assets they can earn income, they can get some kind of margin, and then they can pass some of that margin back to me. So, like, does it mean that I can't own ownership? Like, I can't own the stock? I can't I mean, so we're gonna have this chat tomorrow, and I'm trying to understand, like, where is he coming from with these ideas? But I feel like one of the issues that we weren't able to really articulate today was this idea of, like, what is a productive endeavor? What is ownership? See, I believe that the ownership of, um I believe that massive wealth, it comes from the ownership of processes. Whether you create those processes or whether you have access to ownership of those processes by some other means. We can go back into the orchard and think about the orchard example. So, all right, so I'm on the orchard, and what's happening? Okay, so I gave the example because we're actually talking about robots, and like because he was saying that like that profit is exploited from the worker, and then if you only have robots on your property, then where is profit going to come from if you're unable to exploit it from the laborers? And I was like, okay, okay, this is the whole point. Anyways, I don't know where that conversation is going to go tomorrow, but it will be really interesting. My understanding of a productive business is not the same. So my understanding of a productive business is that there's three main categories. I call this the corporate menu. It comes from the work of Thomas Buckles. So I think that a business, it's about making, informing, and implementing decisions. Okay, so let's talk about risk and reward associated with each of these things. So let's talk about following orders and rules. If I hire a laborer, it means that I have some understanding of the processes that need to be done. Okay, so I have an orchard and somebody comes knocking on my gate and he says, "Hey, listen, I see that you own the property, you own the trees, you own the fruit, you own everything. This is your productive system, and I want to join you. Why do you want to join me? Because if I join you, I can be your hands." And I say, "Okay, so you want me to give the profit that I earn through my hands to you." And then the laborer says, "Yes, I want you to give me the profit that I can earn through your hands. And I'm going to put that into my hands." And it's like, "Okay, so how much am I going to pay you?" And he said, "Well, since labor is the only input to this production system, then you should give me all of your profit." And I say, "What? What are you talking about? I own it." And then he says, "No, no, no. The state owns it." And it's like, "No, we're not living in Marxville. Like, how many successful Marxist countries are there, and why?" It's because the hands, it only represents a small part of the process, following orders and rules. Okay, so the question is, what's happening? What do we have to work with? This we're talking about the ability to pluck fruit from trees and then take that piece of fruit to the gate. That's the only thing that we're concerned about. Are you telling me that this worker is also going to provide the service of clerk? Okay, so every time somebody comes to the gate, then we're going to make a transaction. We're going to collect the cash, and then we're going to make a transaction. So is that also that's they're also going to give their hands, so they're also going to be processing the transactions, and who's going to be doing the legal work? Who's going to register the company? Who's going to pay the taxes? Who's going to keep the accounting? Who's going to keep the records? Who's going to purchase new machinery? Who's going to register different things? Who's going to try to get subsidies? There's a lot of different back office dealings, and are you going to do all that? And then the person says, yes, I'm going to do all that. Okay, so I'm going to pay you as a technician. There's some piece of value associated with the technician. There's some piece of value that's associated with the work of a clerk. And then librarian. Okay, so where are you going to keep these transactions? And then they say, okay, there's an account, there's some books. We're going to keep a series of books. And I say, is it going to be digital or it's not going to be digital? It's going to be like paper. And they say, I mean, I could do it either way. So it doesn't really matter what the structure of the books look like. What matters is that the books are being kept. Yes. Okay, so you are going to decide what kind of like system of database we're going to use, and then you're going to then be the clerk and you're going to be the technician. So you're going to do everything. Yes, I'm going to do everything. All right, what about fertilizer? So are you going to be the one who makes decisions about how much fertilizer to use, when to add the fertilizer, where to buy the fertilizer, where to go to buy the fertilizer, and are you going to make all of the analytical decisions? And also, are you going to figure out like where to find customers and how to introduce them and come to our business and pick up the fruit? Yes, I'm going to do all that. All right, so as the manager of this property, then okay, fine. So I agree. Now, the thing is, I don't even need to buy a coach. I don't have to hire a coach because you know how to do all of that. Meaning you're going to coach yourself to do every single job necessary to manage this farm. Yes. All right. So what about this one here? How about executive? So who's going to decide on the vision and direction of the company? And they said, well, I can do this too. Like, why? Okay, why can you do this? Because the person says, well, I've been doing it my whole life. Actually, I'm your neighbor. I own the orchard next door. Look, I have a very good orchard next door. In fact, I'm making more money than you. So just hire me and I'll do everything. All right. So now we're back to the concept of ownership, because I've now delegated every single aspect of running this business to my neighbor and I don't have to do anything. Okay. Is this what we talk about when we're talking about Marxism? So if I have the ownership, it means that I have the final say. When we talk about making decisions, I have the final say because I'm the owner. When I ask this question, have we double checked potential solutions? The guy says, yes, don't worry. I've double checked everything. Okay, but I'm the owner. So I have the right to ask the question. And Marx is saying that no, you do not have the right. The state owns your farm. And so then does that mean it's the state has the right to ask to delegate all of the work to all of these different roles to different people? That I guess that's what Marxism is when the state takes the final responsibility for making decisions. So that means that we no longer have private businesses anymore. So all decisions are made from the state organs. Okay, fine. So the difference between Marxism and capital and this idea of capitalism is that in a Marxist environment, we have people who so the ownership of all the businesses and all of the property and everything is in a collective, and then in the collective we have representatives who are making decisions for all the people, and then the people follow the direction of that central organ. So this is we're trying to talk about the benefits of having a collective system with centralized decision making compared to decentralized system where you have people who are making decisions on the ground. Now, how does that relate to profit? So this goes back to this idea of like power, perfect power, or the absolute power corrupts absolutely, and the recycling of power. Anyways, I'm going to stop there just because I'm supposed to be at work. What do I mean I'm supposed to be at work? So as you can see from my videos from the last since I lived in Belarus and I started this YouTube channel, I've been researching and I've been interviewing people and I've been asking questions in order to try to figure out what I'm going to build. And then eventually I was able to build two designs, but I just realized that like it doesn't matter if you have a design. What matters is like even after you have a design, you still have to do sales. So then I used the design, the concept of design, into creating a tool in order to develop a sales funnel. So now I have given myself a job. I showed it to everybody in my Connect, and basically it's going to help me to create social media posts, or it's going to help. It's a process, like talking about the ownership of a process. So I pulled together all these bits and bytes, and I put it all together into this website, and then this website is now a process. This process is going to help me to do the marketing, to do the to create the social media posts, to do the marketing efforts in order to begin the engine of trying to attract attention. So as a manager, I made a lot of decisions, and then as an analyst, able to work with Google. Now I'm using anti gravity. And then what? And then this is where we are. This is where we are today. Okay, so now we have a machine. Now, with the machine, what's the manager? So the manager is now a factory manager. I was talking to one of my students yesterday, and basically I was saying, I'm having a hard time actually getting to work, like doing this work. And she said, yeah, that's because you're a coach. You're an analyst. You're a coach, which means what? A coach, like an executive coach, is somebody who talks to people about like thinking about problems and thinking about conversations and thinking about negotiations and thinking about how to deal with like how to keep motivated, stay focused, what matters most, how to think about things. Right? We're talking about thinking frameworks, and I've spent my the last 10 years dabbling in thinking frameworks. And now suddenly she says, yeah, but now you have to become a manager and you have to be a factory. You have to be a factory floor level manager, meaning you have to have a whip. See, and that's another thing about ownership. When you have ownership, it means that you own the problem. It means that no matter, like, let's say that the state owns something, and then I work there, and then we're getting direction from central authority. Like I've been reading this book about the Ukrainians, and when they were thinking about the idea of whether or not they should give up their nuclear weapons, and you can immediately see that there were some issues related to Moscow being the central control of the system. And then these people in Ukraine, although they were working in the system, they didn't necessarily immediately understand how do we transition from like you are owning the system and now we have to own the system. And there's the decisions you make if you're the owner is often very different. It's like this goes back to the biblical story of the two mothers when King Solomon was going to decide who was the mother of the child. And the real mother said, no, you take the baby because I don't want my baby cut in half. So I don't know, like the nature of something changes when you own it. Anyway, so I own this little piece of software, or at least I have the belief that I own it. So I don't know if I own it or not. But now I need to be a technician. Not only do I need to be a technician, but I also need to be a clerk and I need to be a librarian. So I have to start putting my hands, what is it called? Putting my shoulder to the wheel. And as I start to work, then I'll be able to analyze what's actually going on. So today's basically my first day at work. Hello, everyone. All right, so we'll just call it Blaine at work. Blaine is at work. Yeah. Took me 10 years to find a job. Everyone, like a lot of people over the years, like, why don't you go back to Canada and get a job? It's like, 'cause I don't want to work for nobody. I've never seen anyone's productive endeavor that I'm interested in involving myself in. Well, what about this? You created it yourself. So are you willing to work in your own business? I guess. I don't know. All right. So right now, our major task, our goal number one, we created InstaQubit. The purpose of creating InstaQubit is we're going to save Instagram posts in a folder. We're going to download a Mac Whisper transcript. Wait, we're going to download a video and we're going to use Mac Whisper to in order to get a transcript in MP3. And we're going to upload the video to and transcript to Qubit Connect and create the recipe. Then we're going to use the recipe to do. So we got to do this now. Now, yesterday, remember I said I need a list of 100 topics and then then which 10 to create first. Then I need to build a growth scorecard. Now, we can't necessarily do the growth scorecard right away because we need to get used to this process first. So I would say in general, we're going to do this 10 times before deciding what a growth, and then, okay, next is the growth scorecard. Okay. Now, the 100 topics, I don't know what to do. Like after, like, let's say that I complete something, right? Like I'm done it. So then what do I do? Do I put it down here? Finished. I don't know what to do, but this is like a spreadsheet. So I can just, anyways, okay. So the three topics I decided on to work on, you can see, yeah, you can see them. Okay. So they're AI video, business, and vibe coding. Why did I choose these three topics? At first, I was like, okay, what if I make a video every day? And then I was like, nah, that's impossible. Like I'll get burned out and I won't want to do it. Like I have a hard enough time getting myself to make one video. How am I gonna make three? How am I gonna make five videos? But then I started focusing on like, okay, well, what are the skills that I actually want to attain? What are the skills of the future? I feel like business and like thinking models and thinking tools, this is a large part of me as a person. Oh, look at that. So I used Google. We got level one, we got level two, level three, level four, level five. We got 47 topics. I don't know if these are the right topics, but they're topics. For example, the niche concept, how to pick a niche for content creation. I don't know what that is. Niche concept. The avatar, pain point, first principles thinking, inversion, circle of competence, opportunity cost, Pareto principle, the hook. Yeah, I know a lot about the hook. So I just figured we'll just, okay, these are the basics, mind in basics. There's definitely going to be social media posts about these topics. I think it's important to constantly be thinking about business thinking models and business uh, methodologies, and because they help you to understand this mechanism of what is a business and how does a business run. Next is this concept of vibe coding. I've been doing vibe coding for, why didn't it switch? I did. All right, I've been doing vibe coding for about, for about a year. Most people have been doing vibe coding for about a year maximum because it was last year around this time that Cursor and Windsurf and what's the other one? I don't know. That other one is became popular. In fact, if you go into my um, to my YouTube channel, and if you go into the playlist, you'll see that I have a, check this out. So we go into playlist. You'll see if you go back far enough that we have one. Look at this one, ChatGPT. Back when ChatGPT just began. Wow, that's a long time ago. All right, here. So you have Cursor. If we go back and then if we look into here, go to view playlist. Pick the oldest. You see, 9 months ago. Okay, what was 9 months ago? February. It's January. So January, February, March. So we got March. Basically, we're coming up on a year that people have been using these vibe coding tools. Now, as you can see, I actually vibe coded this. The problem is there was this one dude on Y Combinator, and he made this video in December, and he's like, "Yeah, nobody has made a thriving, successful business based on vibe coding." And I was like, "Arr, no, you didn't." I mean, but it's true. Like, did I successfully make a thriving business where I'm producing, where I'm with my Marxist ownership, where I'm making money from this website? No, I didn't. So it means that what? It means that right now, this people who are making money with software are still people who have professional development experience. And there aren't we haven't found any evidence of people who are successfully making money as a vibe coder. 2026 is the year. And I was able to successfully make this website. And as you can see, I simplified it quite a bit. We're using you have to use your own API key. So I didn't set up like really complicated logic. It's free. And so everything in this piece of software, it works, everything works fine. Like probably the most complicated thing is that it has a light version and dark version. I mean, I don't know. It has like a little system status. It turns the video into to-do list. It uses AI. I mean, for a vibe coded app, it's good. It's like I love it. I mean, it's my own little project, and I really like this project, and I think it worked out really great. And I'm really happy that Anti Gravity was able to do this. Remember a year ago when I got really mad because I was using a Google API key and they charged me like 25 bucks or something. Eventually, they gave me a discount and they only charged me half the amount, which I paid. And now a year later, I'm still using Google. At that time, Google was still the most successful vibe coding tool that I was because I tried using all the different tools and Google's tool using the API and whatever tool that they had at the time, it was the most successful rendition of any kind of vibe app that was available. So at least from what I can see here, my app is definitely possible. Okay, to start actually creating like a much more complicated app, and I want to make money on that app. So the one that I created is my waitlist. And why do I say waitlist? It's because this little app that I'm using, that I'm going to be using, my Qubit Connect engine, it helps me to do two things. I'm learning the most important topics for me personally. It helps me to learn the most important topics for me personally, and then it helps me to follow a process in order to create social media posts. And then as I create those social media posts, let's say that 10% of the audience eventually goes back and tries to figure out like how I did this, like what am I doing, how am I doing it, and or at least they see the link and then they click on the link. I'm just going to say that like 10%. I'm just hoping that I can reach 10% of my audience, whoever sees my social media posts, whichever platform that they're on. And of course, at some point, like I said, at some point we're going to try to um, create a growth scorecard, meaning that we're going to keep track of some numbers at some point. Anyway, so I want some percentage are going to notice that there's a link, and then they click that link, and then it says, "Hey, come over to Qubit. If you want to be able to make better social media posts, go over to Qubit Connect." Then they come over to Qubit Connect, and then they got this big issue, right? So then they're like, the first thing that they see is like, "Okay, what is this? I got API key. What do you mean API key?" And then they're like, "Your keys are stored locally on your device." And they're like, "I don't believe you." I mean, I don't believe myself. I never believe any of these things. So of course I'm not going to believe people. But I mean, some people they might, I don't know. So I don't know how to overcome that objection, but there's definitely a serious objection. Anyways, there's a couple of things here that require that my future audience is going to have to be a certain type of character. The first thing is that they have to get past the API key issue, meaning that they have a deep understanding of what is an API key and like how do they use this API key in my application, right? So this is a major issue. And anyone who doesn't have an understanding of software or anyone who feels uncomfortable, they're not this is a big gate in front of the process that's like it's going to weed out 99% of that 10%. So this is like how many people a month is this that actually use my app? This could take a lifetime. How long is it going to take before somebody has enough trust to put in an API key and not believe that I'm going to steal all their credits? Which it's not like, how am I going to steal your credits anyways? See, the whole point is that if you haven't set up billing, then I'm not going to be able. It's a free tier. You're getting a free tier API key. I can't take your credits. Even if I take your credits, I'm going to hit the hard limits very, very quickly, and then you're still not going to get billed. So there's that issue. Anyway, so then they jump into the app, and then they're like, then they have to learn how to use it. So then the question is, how do I get people to learn how to use this? That's the first issue. Now, after they learn how to use this, why am I trying to teach them to learn how to use this? Because this is the same audience that I want to sell to. Like when it comes to, remember, it's a waiting list. So it's the same audience that I'm hoping to sell to when I finish creating my Qubit Connect. Once I finish my Qubit Connect app, then I'm going to be like, hey guys, like I need some testers, I need some people to help me with this app, and they already know how to enter a task and then break it down into steps, because they've been doing that with my Qubit Connect engine, right? So do you get the logic behind this? It's lots of fun. I've thought about this a lot. Well, I wouldn't say that it's just me thinking about it. Like there's something about it. It's almost like it has a life of its own, and it's just over the years, it's just slowly made itself manifest, and now this is what it is. Okay, like business skills, yeah, obviously we need business skills. We need to understand, like, I like talking about business skills. I think it's very interesting to talk about business skills. Vibe coding, because I'm still building another app. Are vibe coding skills going to be like necessary for 10 years? I don't know. Maybe at some point, like there's not even going to be like an interface. Maybe we're not even going to use this. Like right now, we're using IDEs like Anti-Gravity, Cursor, Windsurf, Replit. You have to input the text into the AI chat window, and then it goes and it changes the software. And then it has some testing processes. Yeah, but at some point, like maybe even in a year from now, all of that is going to be automated because everyone's doing the same processes. And AI is really good at learning from people doing processes. So when you aggregate 100,000 people, or 200 or 5,000 or a million people, or I don't know how many people, 5 million people doing these processes over and over and over and over, eventually they're just like, hey, look, here are the best practices. So we don't need to have this window anymore. Well, what window are we having? Well, I just want to see what the app looks like. So it means that I'm just going to be looking, for example, I'm going to be looking at a screen like this, and then I'm going to speak, and I'll say, okay, so do you see this section? It says learn, create, engage, and it says, yep, I see it. All right, so can you change that text a little bit? Can you make it different? Can you throw me up some different options with different fonts? Okay, can you move it a little bit to the right? Yeah, like, yeah, a little bit more. A little bit, like it'll just be more like just direct talking. Like um, so it gives me a pause to wonder skills, but at the same time, I don't know, at least right now. So the thing is that maybe not all the skills you learn are going to be necessary for your entire life. For example, I can speak Chinese, and for the last 10 years, I didn't speak any Chinese. And suddenly, I started getting some students from Chinese speaking countries, and then suddenly I'm just like, oh yeah, I used to be able to speak Chinese. And then suddenly, it's like all of the attention on Europe is like gone. It was pretty intense. And then suddenly Macron comes out and he's like, we're not really doing much for sure. We probably ought to do something more for sure. It was like, and then the other dude, he was all like, yeah, like we're so happy for Trump, and Trump is our best friend. And if it wasn't for Trump, then we wouldn't actually take anything seriously. And it's like, yeah, exactly. So you guys going to take something seriously now? And then Putin's like, well, we need a new security architecture, which means what? It means that NATO got kicked out. And then once NATO's kicked out, then now they got to deal with their own situation. Why? Because NATO's decided that they want to focus on China. Now suddenly the whole world has turned their attention onto China. Okay, so I had 10 years of like no Chinese, and suddenly I book a Chinese class. I'm learning Chinese again. So I don't know, vibe coding skills, is it necessary? Is it not necessary? What are we gonna do? I don't know. So, but for right now, it's necessary because I need to build another app. As long as I need to build another app, then why don't we just like focus, right? So let's talk about these issues. I don't know if it's all necessary, but anyways. And then I need to create these. So AI video is, see, I'm talking to you right now, and this is a conversation. So I think this is fine. The format is fine for what we're trying to get out of this experience. But the problem is that once we go through the process and actually build something, then like, what if I want to make some, try closing and reopening your browser window. Like, what if I actually like what happens when I want to make some videos? I want to make some reels on uh, social media. So what are we going to do at that point, right? So I, I did a little search with my own name, and so I got two of my videos popped up by searching my name. So that's cool. Some dude in tidy whities. Hey, look at that, more. And the dude with tidy whities keeps showing up. All right, it doesn't matter. Why am I looking at this? All right. Anyways, at some point, I want to see some reels. Reels. So I want to make some reels. And yeah, I don't know why it does this. It's like messed up. So the question is, I want to make some reels. How many of these reels are AI generated? Right now, like none of them are AI generated. You see that? Or it seems like none of them are AI generated. Because that's like I think it'll be a bigger benefit if we focus on AI reel generation right now rather than this is the old way of doing it. And I want to be able to do it the new way. I got to go to work 3 times a week. Or, the topics are going to be vibe coding, business, and AI video generation. All right. So on the growth scorecard, yeah. Anyways, all right, good. So now we're on for the first step. Save Instagram post to a folder inside of Instagram. So what are we going to do first? The AI video generation. Is that the first topic? So the physics of Gen 3 Alpha. So here's the search query: Runaway Gen 3 Alpha camera motion physics tutorial. So we take the search query, we come over here, we put it into the Scout. And we got Gen 3 Alpha camera motion, Gen 3 Alpha physics, motion blur control, Gen 3 Alpha tutorial, AI camera physics, runway ML motion, Gen 3 Alpha simulation, AI physics, runway animation. For me, it's my first day at the job. So, first time at the job. The first time I worked in a law firm, it was a law firm called King and Wood. This is the biggest law firm in China. I don't even know how to say it in Chinese. Jindu. It was called Jindu Fa 律师事务所. I think it's 律师事务所. So this was my very first day in the law firm. I was an intern in the largest law firm in China. This is in 2008. So it's the Shanghai office, and Zhang Yi, the managing partner of the office was Zhang Yi, and I'm supposed to. Well, first I was working with Lucy Liu, but then they moved me over to Zhang Yi's department, and this is it, man. Like I got to my first day at work, I was like, I don't even know what's going on. What do I do next? Oh, my body hurts. Oh, I'm so uncomfortable. Oh. I gotta clean my glasses. I don't know. Which one do I click? So I think let's start with Instagram and let's start with Gen 3 Alpha because I don't know. Well, The thing is that we want to talk about camera motion physics tutorial. Gen 3 Alpha. There's nothing with physics, AI video physics, AI. I don't know anything about any of this stuff. Gen 3 Alpha physics. There we are. No results. Now, what happens if I click Reels? I'm having a problem right now with Instagram. First of all, it wants me to like sign up again every time I click this button, and I don't know why. Google has interesting. It doesn't even show the search term. I can't I can't highlight the text. The text is not highlightable. I would like to be able to highlight that text, I think. But not right now. Let's just pick the first one. Sometimes the first one's just the easiest. Now, the thing is that the logic inside of those 10 bubbles, it's kind of interesting because the way that the logic works in those bubbles is the Gemini agent. The first two bubbles are generated based on using something that may work with Instagram. The next two bubbles are meant to something that might work inside of TikTok. The next two bubbles are for Reddit. The next two bubbles are for LinkedIn, and the last two bubbles are for Facebook. So that's how the AI is doing the thinking. And so it's kind of like hit and miss, right? The first two should work for Instagram because it's thinking about what the algorithm wants. Okay, so here we are. Whew, our first day at work. What do we do? I guess I click it, right? You can't hear the audio. Nice. All right, I'm gonna turn the audio off for me because I like the audio. But okay, this is not a tutorial. Runway just changed the film forever. Gen 3 Alpha text to video prompting guide. Okay. Gen 3 Alpha text to video prompting guide. What you should do that aligns with your concept. Base prompt format. Example prompt. Camera styles. Lighting styles. Movement speeds. Movement types. Style and aesthetic. Text styles. Follow us for more insight. Elevate. All information and resources. Full guide, runway, and prompt guide. All information and resources are from Runway's blog. Full guide. Well, now I think I'm going to cheat because I don't know, what's the point? Let's put this on Pro. Do you have access to this blog or this guide online? And can you upload all of the data into your memory so that you understand this idea completely? I have access to analyze the Runway 3 prompting guide and associated document. While I can't permanently download the files into a long-term memory, I've ingested the structured key data for this session. I understand the specific syntax, camera, motion, vocabulary, the structure logic required to get high fidelity results from Gen 3 Alpha. Here's the data update. Okay. So What do you know about? Maybe I'll just use audio. All right, so I'm gonna put like a specific search term, and I'm just curious to this, and if you can provide like a complete structured guide for this idea. See, the issue right now is I don't know anything about this subject, and so I don't know why the AI told me I should learn about Runway Gen 3 Alpha Camera Motion Physics tutorial when I don't know anything about this. Let's go back to this thing, see what it looks like. You see, it says concepts and setup. It says the physics of Gen 3 Alpha, Runway Gen 3 Alpha Camera Motion Physics tutorial. I have successfully assessed the documentation. Maybe I can just get it to read it for you. Hold on a second. I'm gonna stop sharing, and then let's see if I can share this again with audio. And then I can, instead of reading it, we can just listen to it, read it. Read.
I have successfully accessed the documentation and uploaded the structured logic for Runway Gen 3 Alpha Camera Motion Physics. While a single file with that exact name does not exist online, I have synthesized the data from Runway's official Gen 3 Alpha prompting guide, the advanced camera control documentation, and expert community workflows into the complete guide you requested. Here is the structured data now held in my context for you. Upload complete. Camera Motion Physics Guide. Subject: Runway Gen 3 Alpha. Focus: simulating physical camera weight, velocity, and optical properties. 1. The physics engine, hybrid control. Gen 3 Alpha determines camera physics, movement, speed, inertia, through two competing inputs. You must balance them. Text prompts: define the style of movement, e.g., handheld, cinematic. Camera control sliders: define the force and direction of movement, numerical values -10 to +10. Rule of thumb: text prompts set the vibe, shaky versus smooth, while sliders set the path, left versus right. 2. The 6 axes of camera physics. I have memorized the specific behaviors for the 6 camera axes. We will use these terms to define physical space. Axis, command. Physical action, best used for horizontal, truck, moving the entire camera left, right, parallel. Following a walking subject, side profile. Vertical, pedestal, moving the entire camera up, down, elevator. Revealing tall structures or subject height. Pan, rotating the camera head left, right, fixed spot. Scanning a landscape or following a gaze. Tilt, rotating the camera head up, down, fixed spot. Looking up at a skyscraper or down at feet. Roll, rotating the horizon line, Dutch angle. Disorientation, chaos, or fighter jet, POV. Zoom, changing focal length, not physical movement. Intense focus or vertigo effects. 3. Velocity and weight vocabulary. To simulate realistic physics, we must use specific modifier keywords in the text prompt. These tell the AI how heavy or fast the camera feels. A. Speed modifiers: velocity, hyperspeed, unnaturally fast, blurring the environment, e.g., train windows, tunnels. Time-lapse: fast forwarding time while the camera moves slowly. Slow motion: high frame rate feel, slowing down gravity. Dynamic motion: aggressive, high-energy movement, good for sports. B. Stability modifiers: mass, weight, handheld, shake, simulates a human operator, adds micro jitters and organic imperfection. Steadicam, gimbal, removes gravity, jitters, floating, smooth physics. Drone, FPV, simulates flight physics, banking turns, variable speed. Snoricam, locks the camera physically to the subject's body, subject stays still, background moves. 4. The master prompt structure. We will strictly adhere to this syntax to ensure the physics engine understands your request. Camera speed, camera movement type, subject action, in, environment. Lighting, atmosphere. Examples I have generated for your context. Standard, slow motion tracking shot. A samurai draws his sword in a snowy forest. Complex, hyperspeed FPV drone shot. The camera dives down the side of a futuristic skyscraper into traffic. Optical, rack focus. The camera starts focused on raindrops on a window, then shifts focus to the street outside. 5. Advanced physics, combos. I have stored these specific combinations to achieve complex cinematic effects. The vertigo effect, dolly zoom, prompt. The background expands while the subject size remains constant. Settings, set zoom to +5, in, and move to -5, back. The orbit, arc shot, prompt, orbiting shot around the subject. Settings, combine horizontal, left, right, with pan, opposite direction, to keep the subject centered while moving around them. The crash zoom, prompt, rapid snap zoom into the subject's eye. Settings, high zoom value, +8 or +10, with dynamic motion keyword. 6. Troubleshooting physics. If the video looks wrong, I will check against these error states. Floaty, physics, occurs when no weight is defined. Fix, add keyword handheld or heavy camera rig. Warping, subject, occurs when the camera moves too fast for the subject generation. Fix, reduce slider intensity from 10 to 5. Conflict, occurs when text says, zoom in, but slider says, zoom out. Fix, ensure text and sliders align. Ready to deploy. I have this guide active in my memory. You can now simply say, give me a vertigo shot of a man realizing he lost his wallet. And I will generate the exact prompt plus slider settings required. What is the first physics experiment you want to run?
Okay, what are we going to do from here? Wow. Okay, let's go back to this. I'm going to stop sharing this. That's really interesting stuff. Like, where do we actually go from here? That's the question. See, the workflow that I was planning on having and the workflow which has happened through this is not exactly the same. Runway 3 Gen Alpha Camera Motion Physics Tutorial. So we need, what are we going to do with this stuff? What's the point? The point is that we are using this app in order to find information. And if we can't find the information directly on social media, so in this case, we didn't find like an actual, like, where's the Gen 3 Alpha Physics? What about Reddit? Maybe there's something on Reddit with Gen 3 Alpha Physics. Alpha learning saved my physics grade. It's nowhere. Nobody's talking about this. I don't even know, what am I supposed to do with this? What do I do with this information? All right, check this out. So I pasted that one video, you know, that I put this, like, look, this slow motion tracking shot. A samurai draws his sword in a snowy field. All right, so what's a slow motion tracking shot? Okay, so we got slow motion was from here. Here's slow motion. But what's a tracking shot? I don't remember something called a tracking shot. See, we got horizontal. So horizontal is you follow the truck. Vertical is like an elevator. Pan is like a what is that called? Pivot. Tilt is like up and down. Tilt is basically a vertical pan. So the pan and the horizontal, they go together, and then the vertical and the tilt go together. The roll is just like, let's say it's looking directly at the fighter. No, because it's not exactly like that. See, the problem is that you have the, okay, maybe, because it sounds like it's a little bit similar to the SnorriCam. The SnorriCam, it says it's when the camera is physically attached to the body, so the subject stays still and the background moves. But that sounds kind of similar to like the fighter jet. Okay, but I guess it's talking about, I don't know, rotating the horizon line. Ah, okay, rotating the horizon line. So this is when the camera is turning like this, and then zoom is like this. Okay, so those are the different shots. We got speed modifiers. Let's take a look at that samurai. So I don't really know what tracking shot is, but let's see what slow motion looks like. That's not even slow motion. Slow motion because he's actually just moving slowly, but it's not slow motion. All right, what's this? FPV drone shot. The camera dives down the side of a futuristic skyscraper into the traffic. Hyperspeed FPV drone shot. What is that? So we know that this is this one, the drone shot, but that's not the. We didn't say anything about the speed modifier. Hyperspeed. Okay, it says hyperspeed. Sorry, hyperspeed. So that's we got a hyperspeed drone shot, and then the question is, what kind of camera is it going to use? My guess is it's going to be the. I don't really understand what this is saying because these are six axes of camera physics. But if you attach a camera to a drone, then you're not horizontal, you're not vertical, you're not panning because your camera is connected to the drone. It's actually similar to a Snorri cam, but it's using a drone instead. I don't know. Let's see what does it look like. I don't know what to say. Let's look at the last one. The last one says rack focus. The camera starts focused on a raindrop on the window, then shifts focus to the street outside. You have two video generations running right now. The maximum I can do at one time. Okay, this is just okay, this is physics. It's not actually okay, so what do we want? What do we want to do? All right, so I want you to consider these ideas. Basically, what I see is that you are talking about a couple of different topics. First, you started talking about the physics of the engine, and then you started talking about the six axes of the camera physics, and then you started talking about velocity and weight vocabulary, and then you talked about speed modifiers, and then you talked about stability modifiers, and then you talked about the master prompt structure, and then you talked about advanced physics combos. And then you talked about troubleshooting physics. So I want you to create basically like a challenge. So the question is like, imagine that I'm going to be using the Google Gemini. What's it called inside of your engine? It's called the VO 3.1. So I want you to help me to practice prompting. And the way that I want you to help me practice prompting is by making a like a a course. So, for example, like how many prompts should we create in order to understand and learn all of these different elements? So, should we create prompts to to create a video based on just like understanding the physics engine, or should we create like prompts to understand the six axes of camera physics? Should we create prompts for managing the understanding of velocity and weight vocabulary and speed modifiers and stability modifiers? Or should we just create some master prompts? So let's say that you were going to create some master prompt, right? Because I can see that it has the camera speed, the camera movement type, the subject action in the environment, and the lighting atmosphere. But I mean, are those also talking about, I don't know, so let's see, camera speed. If we talk about camera speed, then that's in the velocity and weight vocabulary. And if we talk about camera movement type, then that goes up to the six axes of the camera physics. And then if we talk about the subject action, okay, and the environment, those aren't actually directly discussed above. And then we have the lighting and the atmosphere. So, and then you got advanced physics. So I don't know what that is exactly. So there's a lot of stuff to learn. So I would say that the best thing to do, I think, would be to create a table. And then in the table, you're going to create, for example, 50 different examples. So the examples are going to be, you are going to provide the information for half the prompt. So you are going to provide the information for the subject action and the environment, and you're going to provide the information for the lighting and atmosphere. So in the table, we're going to have a column for camera speed. We're going to have a column for camera movement. And then you are going to provide the information for the subject action, the environment, and the lighting and atmosphere. So it sounds like this is the structure. Then that means that what we're doing is we have to make our own decisions about the camera speed and the camera movement type. So I would suggest that what you would do is you can create like 50 different prompts, which only contain the right-hand side of that master prompt structure. And then we have to make our own decisions about the camera speed and the camera movement type, because I think that's all there is, right? You have your camera speed in the velocity and weight vocabulary, and then we have the camera type in the six axes of camera physics. Am I understanding this correctly, or is there a different way that we can do this so that we can understand the fundamentals of each shot, and then so that we can have some area where we're making choices, and then we're going to connect it with the environment and the subject matter that you provide? Phew. Well, we got a problem. We got a big problem because this has nothing to do with my app. Like this is a topic which is not covered in, maybe it's just for this topic. It's not covered in anybody else's social media. What happens if I click Scout again? Ah, it saved it. Nice. All right, let's take a look at that. Okay. How many, you reached your limit until tonight? Okay, we can make 3 videos a day, it looks like. This is a brilliant learning strategy. You have correctly deconstructed the master prompt into 2 distinctive roles. The set designer, me, I provide the subject, the environment, and the lighting. You, the director, you decide on the camera speed, the camera movement to best capture the scene. To learn this effectively, we shouldn't just do 50 random prompts. We should structure the 50-shot challenge into 5 levels of difficulty, 10 shots each. This way, you master the basic axes before moving to the complex stuff, the physics combos. Here is part 1 of your course, prompts 1 to 12. All right. Let's just jump in this tomorrow. So, originally, I thought I was going to be like making social media posts every day. I think it's going to take a little bit of time to structure this time period, because basically what happens is I got to sit down. I'm at work. I say hello, and then probably I'm not going to be like random stuff as much, even though I like to talk about random stuff. and then I got to jump right into the thing, right into the subject matter, and then we're gonna like turn it into some kind of thing where we're actually doing something. See, look at this. So we got level one, 6 axes, understanding space, matching the camera movement to the shape of the subject. Reveal the height of a tall subject. The futuristic cyberpunk scraper, glowing in with neon lights in the rain. Your camera prompt, decision, vertical or pedestal up. But pedestal up, we don't have this word. Like, look, if we use the word pedestal up, click find, pedestal up. Okay. See, there's only 3 instances of this, and they're all inside of this this last prompt. Hmm. All right. I think I'm gonna end this here for now, and then I'll see you tomorrow. We'll do more of this tomorrow, but I think this is enough for today. I think we got to figure out how to do this job, my new job, my new job. Welcome to work. My thing's not working. There we go.